All right, welcome back into the Sportsmed Analytics Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Deepak Chona, but you can call me Pak. We are here with all the injury updates for week 1, and it's finally upon us. So let's dive right in. Starting with J.K. Dobbins, he's officially listed as questionable, but he's still limited in practice. It would be really surprising to see him play in any meaningful quantity prior to about week 3. Now by mid-season, our database projects him regaining 85% of his peak form, but if we see him play in September, expect limited snap counts and explosiveness. Next up, Christian McCaffrey. Yes, he hit the injury report already, but it's reportedly just a minor cut to his shin. Expect full workload, full performance. Lazard, he's doubtful with an ankle injury, almost certainly a no-go after missing 3 practices in a row this week. They haven't told us if this is a high ankle or a low ankle variety. High ankle usually means 2 to 4 weeks for a wide receiver, low ankle usually closer to 1 to 2. Next up, Godwin. He's saying it's a game time decision, but despite being listed as a full participant in practice, he hasn't taken contact hits yet. It's hard to imagine him playing as a result. Even if Godwin does suit up, data strongly suggests that sitting him in fantasy is the move for now. Our data projects him to hit 85% of his full recovery in mid-October, with 90% coming in mid-November. That probably means limited snap count starting in the about week 4 to 6 range, and non-start worthy production as he ramps up over that time. Next up, Michael Thomas. This has been our big sleeper for the whole offseason, but now he's officially questionable. He has been practicing in limited capacity all week. Preseason hamstring strains for wide receivers do tend to cause some minor drops in production. Think about 10% in the short term, and they also carry a 20% recurrence risk at some point in season. But still, MT should be close to full strength, as we expect last year's ankle issue to be back to normal. 90% of his prior form is still a potential stud wide receiver, so for week 1, we'd feel reasonably good about putting him into lineups. Watch the Sunday reports carefully though, because this one could have some last-second changes pregame. Next up, George Kittle. He's played without practicing before, but this injury just hit on Monday. If reports of a grade 2 groin strain are accurate, we're usually looking at about 3 weeks out. Plan on using your backups for now. After this heals, he'll carry about a 25% recurrence rate in the short term, but if he stays healthy, his performance should bounce right back to normal. Next up, Drake London. Not a lot of diagnostic information released on this one, but his practice trends are headed in the right direction, and Falcons' statements are optimistic that London is playing week 1. I'd plan to start him, but have a backup on hand in case of a surprise in the pregame inactive report. Next up, James Robinson. Looks like a full go 8 months off the Achilles injury, but historical data is strongly stacked against him. SMA projects 80% of his pre-injury explosiveness at this point, so this is probably Travis Etienne's workload to lose. By mid-season, Robinson is probably worthy of flex consideration, but at this point, it would be risky to bank on much production week 1. Next, Rondale Moore. He was hit with a reportedly serious hamstring strain late this week. Moore is unfortunately probably looking at an extended absence. Typical return, if that serious is really an accurate descriptor, is 4 to 6 weeks, and recurrence rates hover around 20% once he does come back. It's not a bad idea to scoop up shares of Marquise Brown and AJ Green, and look out for Marquise Brown as a DFS value this week. Kenneth Walker III, very likely to miss week 1, but a positive development this week that he is now out there and looking good when he's running. Typical return does take 6 weeks, and that would put him back at week 3. There's minimal performance dip or recurrence risk after that point, so look for him to become a valuable member of your team shortly. If your league mates aren't as sharp as you, it may also be worth trying to buy low in a trade. That's all for now. Hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and TikTok.